breathing, deafening gunfire. A storm of primitive stone spears rains from the sky, shattering against the freezing ice. Welcome to the prehistoric hell.
Open fire!
The modern assault rifle spits fire, cutting through the blizzard. But the shadows in the snow don't stop. They just keep coming. Sergeant Brick
Hold
doesn't
the line.
blink. He ejects
There
a
will
spent
be
magazine.
no retreat.
Hot brass melts the ancient ice. Focus your fire. Don't waste the lead. Let's rewind. 12 hours earlier. A temporal anomaly. Dave wakes up not in a trench, but in a frozen wasteland completely untouched by civilization. No radio signal. No GPS. Brick checks his compass. The magnetic north is completely wrong. They are stranded in the Pleistocene Epoch. The environment is the first killer. At minus 30 degrees, modern gun oil freezes solid. Moving parts become rigid iron. Brick kneels in the snow. He isn't looking at the horizon, he's reading the ground. We are being hunted.
And not the friendly kind.
He pulls a shattered projectile from a frozen tree trunk. It's not a bullet. It's a massive, crudely chipped flint spearhead. Brick sketches a primitive battle line in the snow. They have numbers, they have terrain, but we have velocity. A shadow detaches from the tree line. A massive figure wrapped in mammoth fur. A scout from the Ice Tribe.
Drago!
A primitive warrior raises a spear and roars, a sound that hasn't echoed on Earth for 10,000 years. He charges. Dave's training takes over. He raises the AK-47. The modern world introduces itself to the Stone Age. The warrior is thrown backward by invisible kinetic force. The echo of the gunshot rolls across the glacial valley like thunder.
Dave, cease fire! Charge!
Dave breathes a sigh of relief, but Brick draws his combat knife. You just rang the dinner bell, rookie. Look.
Retreat! Retreat!
Thousands of primitive hunters loom on the ridges. Brick immediately grabs Dave's harness, dragging him toward a massive, jagged ice boulder. Brick uses his combat knife to draw a long line in the snow. A human arm can throw a spear 50 yards. He taps his assault rifle. Effective range, 400 yards. Let them cross the line. Let them walk into the meat grinder.
Here they come.
The psychological warfare begins. Hundreds of heavy bone clubs beat against wooden shields. A deafening rhythmic thunder shaking the ancient valley. Dave's breath fogs the air. He is a veteran, but this is a primal, ancestral terror, buried deep in human DNA. The war drums stop. Silence falls. Then, the sky goes dark. A massive volley of jagged rocks from primitive slingshots rains down. Cover! Brick roars. Heavy stones smash into the ice, cracking the ancient glacier like glass. The sheer volume is deadly. The first wave of warriors charges down the slope. They cross Brick's line in the snow. The veteran doesn't hesitate. Brick fires. A 5.56mm round travels at 3,000 feet per second. It hits a primitive wooden shield with devastating kinetic energy. The tribe pauses. They don't understand the invisible magic that kills from afar. But they are apex predators. They adapt instantly.
Look down!
They are flanking us, pack hunting tactics. Brick warns. Switch to semi-auto. Ammo is our most valuable currency now. Dave aims carefully. One shot, one kill. The heavy 7.62 round punch right through primitive animal hides and thick ice alike. Suddenly, a massive stone spear violently impales the ice just inches from Dave's helmet. The sheer force cracks the boulder. They're too close. Brick growls. He unclips an M67 fragmentation grenade. Time to introduce them to modern chemistry. 5 seconds to detonation, Brick mutters. He releases the safety lever. A high arc throw over the ice wall. The tribe stops. They stare at the small metal object in the snow. They don't understand modern fragmentation. Boom. Blinding flash of kinetic hell. The shockwave tears through the prehistoric air, shattering ice and bone alike. The explosion stuns the horde. To them, Dave and Brick command the power of thunder and lightning. Dave breathes. He thinks they've won, but Brick violently yanks him down. Never lower your guard against apex predators. Camouflage. Deep in the snowdrifts, elite hunters wrapped in white wolf skins erupt from the ground like ghosts. A bone blade grazes Dave's helmet. Pure, uncontrollable panic strikes. The modern soldier loses his mind. Dave holds the trigger down. Full auto, spraying lead wildly into the blizzard, hitting nothing but snow and ancient trees. Brick dives onto Dave, violently smashing his hand against the weapon to force the barrel up. Cease fire! You're feeding their trap! Dave stares at his rifle. The magazine is empty. He wasted 30 rounds of unreplaceable ammunition on shadows.
I said cease fire!
They sent a suicide squad to make you panic, Brick explains coldly. In the Stone Age, fear is how you exhaust your prey.
Empty!
The blizzard parts. A colossal warrior steps forward, wearing the skull of a saber-toothed tiger, the Apex Alpha. The Alpha hurls a massive boulder with superhuman strength. It obliterates their ice cover. Dave and Brick are now completely exposed to the horde.
Boulder!
The ice cover is gone. The horde surges forward like a white avalanche. Reload! Brick barks, stepping directly into the open.
Fire!
Dave's frozen fingers fumble with the fresh magazine. 30 rounds of 7.62mm are all that stands between life and slaughter. Brick raises his rifle. No panic, just the cold calculation of a machine. Short controlled bursts cut the charging vanguard to pieces. The saber-toothed Alpha ignores the deafening gunfire. He charges through the ancient adrenaline. A sharp metallic click. Brick's magazine runs dry. A modern soldier's worst nightmare in a prehistoric kill zone. The Alpha swings his massive bone club. Brick doesn't flinch. He drops the empty rifle and draws his carbon steel combat knife. The heavy bone club shatters the frozen ground. Brick perfectly evades the lethal strike, using modern close-quarters combat against brute force. Brick steps inside the Alpha's guard. A swift mechanical slash of carbon steel against thick animal hide. Precision over power. But the Alpha is a monster of the Pleistocene. He ignores the wound, backhanding Brick with horrifying kinetic force.
Tactical silence!
Brick is thrown into the snow, his black sunglasses cracking on the ice. The Alpha stands over, raising the club for the execution. A heavy metallic clack. Dave finally cracks the bolt of his AK-47. A 7.62 round slides into the freezing chamber. Dave screams, aiming directly at the towering saber-toothed Alpha. The modern soldier reclaims the high ground of evolution.
Just try me!
Dave's frozen finger squeezes the trigger.
Brick.
Time stops in the freezing blizzard as the firing pin drops. The AK-47 roars. A superheated gas and a 7.62mm projectile erupt from the barrel, tearing through the frozen air. The bullet strikes the saber-toothed Alpha dead center. The unstoppable force of nature meets the unbreakable law of modern physics. The giant falls. The heavy bone club crashes into the ice, inches from Brick's face. The tribal drums instantly stop. Absolute silence. The surviving warriors look at their fallen god. They don't scream. They just vanish back into the whiteout, swallowed by the blizzard. Dave drops to his knees, gasping for air. He rushes to Brick. The sergeant sits up, brushing snow off his tactical rig. Took you long enough,
are you all
Brick
right?
says coldly. He walks over to the dead Alpha, inspecting the massive saber-toothed skull. But Brick stops. He kneels down. Among the crude animal teeth and bone necklaces, something reflects the dull light. Brick pulls it free. It's a modern military dog tag, stamped with serial numbers. We aren't the first ones here, Dave. The blizzard completely clears.
this
The
man.
horizon is finally visible, and what they see shadows everything they know about time.
Impossible!
Surviving the spear
I
was
don't
only the
believe
beginning. The real war for the past has just started.
Look at the size of that thing!
Like, subscribe, and share to follow Dave and Brick into the anomaly.